So we're going to start with a solo from the saxophonist. He's internationally known, Eric Gals. He loves jazz. That's his favorite specialty. So you guys are in for a treat tonight. So. You guys have been waiting for. I'm your host, and your special guest is Juan Pablo. Can we give them a big round of applause?
Thank you, babe. Let's give her a hand, my amazing wife. Dr. Stacy, thank you. All right, I gotta introduce this guy, this amazing brother of mine. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about our history together. We've done deals together, partnered up. We've talked real with each other about different stuff. And I could talk about all the property stuff, your experience and achievements, but I first want to start with his personal life because I think that is what really defines a man. And his sacrifice, his discipline, his growth for his wife, his child, Mila, is amazing. And that's his first priority, so that's his first number one amazing thing about him. And secondly, I met all of your groomsmen, like 5 of them, 2 weeks ago. And I was like, this guy taught all these gentlemen how to grow businesses of their own. Some of them making hundreds of thousands per year. And they were just his employees for probably only 6 to 12 months, most of them. And he's best friends with them. And I was like, this is his circle. And not only that, he cold called his competitor on YouTube and said, we're going to become accountability partners. Just like, why would anybody do that? A competitor on YouTube. And now they're like, that's your best man. And I was like, this guy is something. And his circle really shows who he is. But aside from that, I could go into the achievements too. He's done he operates 179 multifamily doors, 25 grand a month. Sure, you could clap for that. Yeah. His YouTube has done over 1 million views, and he coaches hundreds of students per year out of minimum. So, join me welcoming Juan Pablo. All right, y'all ready to learn how to analyze a deal in 90 seconds or less? Yes, give me a yes. Come on, let's go. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the questions, because y'all know me, I'm straight about serious business all the time. So if you wanted to look at a deal, let's say in 90 seconds, it just came into your email inbox. JP, what's your first thing you do in the first 30 seconds? Do you look into certain things? Kind of what's your approach?
Cool. Hey, what's up, everyone? Glad to meet you guys. All right. To answer your question, let's say I got an email from one of my real estate agents. First thing I would do is a 1% rule. You guys are super probably familiar with that, right? Where agents or wholesalers may send me deals all the time, but I just need 2 pieces of information. I need to know the purchase price of the property, and I need to know the gross monthly rents of the property. So the 1% rule is the gross monthly rents must be 1% or greater than the purchase price. So let's do some quick and easy math. So if my real estate agent sent me a 5 unit for 100 grand, what does the gross monthly rent have to be? So, how much? 1,000. Easy. That's the first thing I do when I 30 seconds left. You can do that in your head. Do it in the calculator.
Gotcha. And is there specific things when you are looking at that email that you're missing and maybe turns you off? Like, oh, how could you miss this? I'm probably not going to do business with that wholesaler or agent.
Yeah, so in order to have agents send me deals, it's important to have a team of agents, not just 1 or 2, or your cousin, your auntie that happen to be a real estate agent. You need to have a whole team. I say at least 20, especially listing agents. I prefer to work with listing agents, meaning those agents who list the property with the seller, okay? Because they know the motivation of the seller, and they know the condition of the property. And second, they're incentivized to send me deals first because they get both sides of the commission. If they represent the listing agent and myself as the buyer. So if they send me deals in which they don't have at least the purchase price or the gross monthly rent, that's one of the things that annoy me the most. So as an entrepreneur, if you have anyone on your team, let's say your external team, like your agents, you need to train them, right? So when they send you a deal, such as, here's a deal, blah, 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 but if it's missing the key information I need, I'll pick up the phone and use that as a training opportunity to let them know how to present deals to me. And let them know, like, hey, you're incentivized to do this because the more deals that my team and I are able to close, the more you get paid.
That's one awesome thing I learned when partnering with JP. In like 6 months, we made about 100 grand together from just like 5 deals together. But another thing I learned from you and really started to emphasize in my business is standard operating procedures. Like, you got to jump into that a little bit and how deep and nitty-gritty you get with that.
Yeah. So case in point, like this morning, one of my agents, she sent me a property. She said, hello, last year one of your clients purchased a fantastic 40 units in Denora. This is in Pennsylvania, by the way. 3 years are currently rented out. I'm not sure why the current owner wants to sell, but before I list the property on MLS, see, pocket listing, so she's a listing agent. I thought I would put this building into your system so you can match it with a great buyer for this building. Attach all the leases, the financials, blah, blah, blah. You listen to that 170K. She's trained, right? But my response to her was this. Thanks to, this is at, not this morning, it was actually 147 today. Thanks to, based on the purchase price, Janine will let us know if this deal is a good deal or a good match for a client. And if so, please instruct Sid to do the deal analysis. So Sue, for all your deals you have, please send them to Janine first to see if we have a client who can buy first. And if so, then Janine will instruct Sid to analyze it. And if the deal analysis looks good, then we will have a map or have one of our clients or one of our investors who want to buy, and then Janine will write an offer. So I'm still training her on this is how you need to send more deals to us. And that's the thing, like, I know we're getting started, there's definitely phases in regard to entrepreneurship, because those investing is a business. But what we have to do is, there's 4 cornerstones of learning. There's ignorance, you're in the dark, you just don't know about real estate or what have you. Then you have awareness, someone shed light. Oh, I understand now how to find deals and get agents and so forth. Third is, okay, I'm aware now. All right, I need to implement it. I need to take action. And then the 4th is automation. And that's what you want to get to, where you can automate the tasks that you do, to the point where now that I'm receiving deals, I'm not analyzing it. I'm telling my agent, hey, send it to Janine first, so Janine can do her thing, and then Janine, once you're done doing this, send it to Sid so she can do her thing. And moving forward, whenever you get a deal, please exercise this SOP, this standard operating procedure. So that way you kind of remove yourself from the real estate day-to-day operations, and it gives you more breathing room to be more of an entrepreneur, and you can start building that business even further or venture off into new territory.
And if you read between the lines, he was telling that lady, stop calling me. Reach out to Janine. Don't be bothering me. I'm eating my ice cream for lunch. Don't be bothering me about this. Talk to Janine. So let's go back to patterns, because I think we covered how to observe a deal in 90 seconds for email. When you come to your multifamily coaching students, what's the pattern of them usually getting caught up in?
You said getting caught up in as in like nothing. Oh, okay. Oftentimes, I'll just share this with Idris as well prior to some of this. Oftentimes, it's their mindset, right? Because what we have to understand, again, there's always phases, right? By show of hands, how many people start off their work career as employees? Roughly the majority, right? There's just a few that might start off being entrepreneurial or investors, but majority of people, employees. So when we grow up in the school system, we work for an employer, we pretty much have ingrained in ourselves, in our belief system, certain habits and beliefs. And oftentimes when we try to embark upon entrepreneurial endeavors, we never really resolve or change or alter our belief system. Because as a man thinketh in his heart meaning your belief system, so is it. So if you're constantly being raised by employees, maybe your parents, go to a school system with employees who are, employees or teachers who tell you how to follow rules and orders, and you start working for employers, your belief system is, I need security. I need guarantees. I'm scared of risk. I'm terrified of the unknown. And so if you have that belief system, when it comes to doing real estate, oftentimes not everything is guaranteed. Oftentimes you might have to take a step forward in uncharted territory, not knowing where it's going to take you. And so when you try to embark upon an entrepreneurial activity like investing in real estate, even though you're receiving the technical knowledge through a coach, you may revert back to what's safe and secure, familiar, which is your job, simply because you never altered your belief system. And so being that we want security, we want guarantees, we want someone to hold our hand and show us every step of the way because we're terrified of making a mistake, because in school, you make a mistake in the test, you get all the red marking on your test or what have you. what's important is that if up here in our conscious thinking, if we truly want to be a full-time real estate investor, be able to wake up whenever you want to be able to have that passive income, live the lifestyle of your dreams, not having to listen to another boss, employer, supervisor, whoever, we have to start changing our subconscious mind to be that entrepreneur. And we have to be okay and content with the unknown. And that's terrifying for most. So it's kind of like with the coaching students, you have to be like a therapist. You know, a hypnotherapist, even.
Yeah.
To really, real talk, you have to hypnotize them using repetition to really start altering the way they view investing. Because they're saying, like, oh, well, I want this and this. Hey, you got this is investing, nothing's guaranteed. Where there's risk, there's reward, but you have to take a risk. Right? If you don't want to take a risk, then stay at your 9 to 5. Something got there's two opposite ends of the spectrum. There's either security or there's freedom. You have to choose. So if you choose freedom, you have to be okay with stepping away from security.
I dig it. That was good. Yeah. It made me think of, like, one thing that I had to work on in my subconscious is, like, there's deals that I always want to close. And to this day, thankfully, I follow through on all my word, close every deal that I said I was going to close on. But there's always that inkling at the back of my head. This deal's going to go wrong, and your reputation, your word is going to be ruined. And the reality is, one deal is not going to define my reality. And so we have these things in our subconscious that he just described, that we just got to pummel it and deal with it head on. You have to put in chokehold. So let's say you were going through a 10-unit multifamily. How would you assess one apartment out of the 10 in 90 seconds or less?
Okay, cool. So two things. My mindset is when I see a deal, I always want to do a financial analysis first. So I don't want to pay a visit to a 10-unit or what have you, and then later find out, oh, this property is a negative cash flow situation for me. To me, it's like putting the cart before the horse. So I want to make sure I do a thorough analysis financially first. So for a deeper analysis besides the 1% rule, I look at the gross revenue, which could be rents, it could be clone laundry, vending machines, application fees, however else you can obtain revenue, minus your reserves for vacancies, for maintenance, minus your operating expenses, OPEX, property management, utilities, property manager, well, I just said that, property taxes, I meant to say, things of that nature. Then minus your debt service and how you want to finance this deal. And then what's left over is the cash flow. So I do that first. And let's say if it is good to go, I typically buy properties out of state and markets that are safe, affordable, that produce decent returns. So I don't have the luxury just to immediately just fly out there at a moment's notice to go inspect a unit. So what I do with my deal analyzer, I pretty much, if the property's in decent shape and it's habitable, that's why I mentioned working with listing agents, because they share with you the motivation to sell it and the condition of the property. So I understand they're not going to be a general contractor and tell me everything is wrong, but hey, I know it's occupied. For one, that means it's not that bad of shape. But two, hey, real estate agent, just tell me about the property. What's the condition? And so they say it's in decent condition, it's habitable, livable, anyone can move in, rent ready. I allocate about $1,000 per unit to assess it. So then once I do all the financial, I immediately shoot first, ask questions later, meaning I'm gonna shoot an offer. And I think most beginning investors get it wrong is because they want to ask so many questions about the property before they can lock it down. So I want to lock it down first by submitting my offer, meaning a AOS, an agreement of sale, sell agreement, in other words, for them to have the seller sign it, and then I ask all my questions. That's called the due diligence period. Then I try to investigate. And then after that, after I do the financial due diligence, then I take a trip to the property to assess it with my own 2 eyes. But I'm not just assessing with my eyes, I'm not a property inspector. I never got certified in it. So I still inspect it with a property inspector as well. But that's pretty much the steps I take to assess the property.
Awesome. And how do you manage the properties remotely after you acquire them?
That's the key. So I'll share it this way. If you're getting started and you're trying to maximize cash flow, let's say because you are motivated to quit your day job yesterday, as quickly as possible, then I highly recommend for you to do self-management, right? And the reason being is because if you self-manage the property, you it improves your bottom line. You actually get more cash flow for the property. And secondly, if you choose to, you can create a property management business, which is very easy to do. You can hire VAs, whether it's in Mexico or in the Philippines, and they can operate the business for you. All you will need is someone who can be boots on the ground, to knock on doors, post notices, do trash outs and stuff like that. That's a contractor, a handyman. It's very simple. So one of the things I've done when I used to live in New York, and I invested in PA, I'd hired 2 property managers, but it didn't work out well. And I can't blame them, I have to blame myself, because I didn't know anything about management at that point. Right, so you do have to learn additional skills as you become a real estate investor, like how to manage a team, how to screen, make sure this property manager is reputable. So I lacked that. So I hired 2, ended up letting both of them go. I said, you know what, I'm gonna bite the bullet and figure this out myself. Even though I live in New York, I'm gonna figure out how to manage it remotely. And I began to manage it remotely, and I realized, well, in order to have a team, I need to start documenting what's in my head and put it on paper. Standard operating procedures, so that way I can hire someone to do it. So I did that for a while, and then once I started buying more properties, now I had to manage the VAs as well. So if you're really trying to save money, you can do it yourself, property management, and then build out a team. But if you're just really just looking to quickly close properties, and say, hey, I'm just going to focus on acquisitions, I just want to buy properties, I'm sure less on management, then I say hire a reputable property management company, because they're like your partners, pretty much. And I'll also do that. And then what I do is if I hire a property manager, I have a few property managers. The way I manage them is I get a monthly report. Of course, it shows the income and expenses I went out. So that's quantitative information, but I also want them to give me qualitative information, such as what's going on with the tenancies. When will Unit 2 be occupied? What things can we do to help improve the performance of this asset? Should we put one line, like one of my property managers been bugging me, hey man, we have the basement, the tenancy asking for it, put one line in the basement. I need them to feed me, like they're my partner. I have to share that with my property manager. Hey, we're partners in this, because the more money this property makes, the more you get paid, correct? So you're incentivized to make this asset more profitable, correct? So feed me the information. If there's ways that we can make more money, shave costs, so we're happy to make this profit more profitable, let me know. And I think it's important to have that conversation with property managers.
Amen, brother. That was a lot of good information. Three things came up for me when you were talking about that and the previous question. So the fact about not hitting your wholesalers or agents up with a ton of questions, the practical reason behind that is these wholesalers are doing like 500 calls per hour. So what's the reality of them preferring you to the buyer that's asking 2 questions and going to scheduling inspection?
Money talks.
Yeah, money talks, movement forward talks. The other aspect to this was people being maybe afraid of investing out of state. I mean, if you go just for one day to any city, if you really want to enhance your resolve to get properties, the home improvement store down the street is a pretty good resource. You just hang out there, get a bunch of numbers from contractors, and you basically got your property management. Any toilet is broken, address. Any little door that needs to be fixed, address. And then there's another profound thing that I heard about a few years ago, which is screening your tenants to actually be managers, more managers themselves.
Like an unofficial.
Yeah, more like an unofficial. So like,
5 years on the property.
exactly. And what if you ask them in the screening process, do you know how to operate a hammer? Do you know how to change a light bulb? Because you'd be surprised at how many people call about that stuff. It's a pretty significant amount. So if you have a tenant that's more so acquainted with that, doesn't mind doing that, you should have a preference towards them to save you that time too. Did you have any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, I like my tenants to be snitches, pretty much. Not so much them doing the work, because again, it's all growing pains. I told one of my tenants in my 9 unit, he was a handyman by trade. And I said, hey man, I'll give you whatever, X amount of dollars off the rent if you can, this is in PA, so there's a lot of snow. If you can shovel, the driveway, the parking area, and if you can do any angle. Oh yeah, I'll do it. Snowstorm. Hey man, where you at? Man, it's a storm outside. Well, exactly. But the downside is I already gave them a discount on the rent. You should always pay your team through performance. It's called PPP, pay per performance. Always. After the job is 100% done, you can verify it, then you pay them. So I stopped doing that method of actually hiring my tenants to do work, but instead, if I have a tenant who can just be my eyes and ears and feel free to reach out to me about what's going on with other tenants or the unit or the area, that's like my unofficial spy that's on the property. That's what I prefer. I prefer them to tell me everything.
No stitches getting with your signatures because you're helping yourself. Anyway, how and why should investors transition from single family to multifamily?
Cool. Really great question. It really depends on your goals, right? Like I have clients in which they want to get into multifamily, and I always ask them, what is your goal? Why multifamily? And they go like, okay, well, I really want to scale as quickly as possible. I want to quit my day job. That's a really great goal. But you have to make sure you have a definite goal, a definite chief aim in life, like Napoleon Hill says, I think you're rich, and stick to it. You have to, and don't deviate. Don't get distracted about, oh, Forex, oh, Bitcoin, oh, AI is popping right now. Let me get into something with AI. Stay focused on one primary thing. So now, if you're doing single family, which is good, and if you say, okay, my goal is to get the multifamily, then you have to entertain the idea of, okay, well, what do I need to do to get there? So for me, I wanted to get to multifamily as quickly as possible. It took me 3 years. And the reason it took me 3 years is because I had to keep reaching out to my mortgage lender and saying, when can I get qualified for a commercial loan, a commercial mortgage? So after I bought a duplex using FHA, I bought a single family using my personal credit cards, which I don't recommend. That's what I'm learning from. Your credit card, I got this property. And then I tried to refinance after I did the repairs, and the mortgage lender was like, nah, bro, you can't, because my debt-to-income ratio was way too high. And my third property was a 4-unit. I bought a 4-unit for $66,000. So after I had 7 units, then he was like, all right, you're ready. And at that point, that's when I transitioned more into using creative financing. Because we're multifamily, they're cool with seller financing, 10% of the purchase price. They're more so asset-based lenders, so 80% of their underwriting, their focus is on the property, the cash flow, the performance of the asset. 20% is on you, but it's mainly on the property. I didn't have to bring like copious paperwork and my last 18 years of tax returns and all that crap. It was simple. And I realized that, oh yeah, with multifamily, I can really scale this thing. Instead of me taking 4 to 6 months to do a single, why not spend 4 to 6 months to do a 10-unit? The only difference is a 0. So once I really sold myself, like this is my main chief aim in life, and the benefits of my why moving forward with it, then the pieces are falling.
Awesome. And last question before we go into audience Q&A. How do you creatively finance deals?
Oh, I'm more like a one-trick pony. I'm very simple. I don't have that many tools in my arsenal. I have done others like lease options, master options. My bread and butter is I like to find a property that's somewhat under-rented or mismanaged. Okay, so I can buy it at a discount, of course. And the way I fund it is I want the mortgage to pretty much cover 80% of the financing. I typically use negotiate seller financing to cover the latter 10% purchase price. And the remaining 10% plus, and I say plus because you want to have money for reserves and stuff like that. I either get that through partners or I get that through business credit cards. That's pretty much like my main thing that I do with income like this.
And how could people get a hold of you, get your courses if they want more education with you, that sort of thing?
Cool. I'll say now, just take advantage of me being here. I got business cards, and just definitely hit me up. But you can check us out on social media, 100% finance, 100% spelled out, and then finance with a D at the end, 100% finance, so you can learn more.
Awesome. Now, who has some questions? Stace.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think the first person you should have on your team, within our program, like when we do this for clients, we do implementation for clients who want to do deals for them. We can break it down in 4 phases. Find the money, find the deal, perform due diligence, close. So find the money is the first phase. So who's responsible for finding the money? Gotta have a mortgage lender. That's 80% right there. Then the latter 10 to 20%, depending if you negotiate seller financing, you need to have partners, or you need to have your retirement account, savings, business credit, other forms of financing, or at least to know how to do creative financing. You got to be able to have that down pat. So I'll say for phase 1, mortgage lenders, partners, and access to additional lenders who can help with the down payment. Phase 2, that's when you find the deal. So having real estate agents, as I mentioned, multiple listing agents. So they're feeding you deals. Listing agents are wholesalers, feeding you deals all day long. Phase 3, that's performing due diligence. You need a property inspector. Appraisal, that's when we determine the appraisal is doing determined by the lender. They give you like A, B, C, choose just one. Also, if you're doing multifamily, in phase 3, that's when I typically form an entity. So once they get a property under contract, then I form an entity to hold that property. So having access to like maybe a real estate attorney or something to form either an LLC or a limited partnership, just however you're doing the deal, if you're doing with partners, either LP create limited partnership. And then phase 4, property manager, and I think that's it. I haven't top of my mind. Good question. So if I have partners, and let's say we're doing multiple deals together, we typically would have like a holding company to buy each property. But if I'm doing property solo, I just put them in its own entity, let's say an LLC or wherever my real estate attorney advises me what type of entity I should form, and I have a trust. So when you start buying more and more properties, you want to have a trust mainly for asset protection. So I have 2 companies and I have a real estate portfolio. 80% of all that is owned by the trust, and 20% is owned by me. So with my trust, it's just a hedge of protection from liability, and it's also a tax shelter, so I don't have to pay much taxes.
Also wanted to mention Baker Collins is our commercial lender here too, so if you want fix and flip, multifamily funding, everything you need, hard money too. But yeah, commercial lender right there. Over here.
I'm curious, you said, so the legal documents cost the same for setting up a deal by deal syndication versus the fund?
You said the legal documents the same by... Oh, it's the cost the same. Oh, good question. So I invest in PA. So in PA, there's a website called Esquire. I think it's Esquires, PA, something like that.com. And I use them because they can form an entity fast because their office is located directly across the street from the Secretary of State. So they can just physically walk over next door to file the paperwork in person so they can create my entities right away. And they have different price points for each thing. So for creating an LP is different from creating an LLC, but they pretty much do it fast and it's pretty cheap. I use them instead of hiring a real estate attorney because they just charge a lot more.
We've got time for one more, but y'all will still be able to talk to him right after. Who was first? Was it Julie and you, or was it Ken? Julie.
So when you started out, you started out in what year?
When I bought my first property was 2010, but getting my mind right, subconscious mind right, 2009.
All right.
started out with the LLC?
So I bought my duplex using FHA, so it's an owner occupant, so they do require you using your personal name. So I was my first property.
When did you go to LLC?
When I bought my second property with credit cards, since I didn't use the mortgage, I bought it in the LLC, and then the other downside is to do the refinance, which it didn't work out. But then I had to transfer, because I wanted residential, I had to transfer the title from my LLC back to my personal name, so I had to pay fees for that. Then when I realized that I couldn't get the mortgage because I used my personal credit cards, then I transferred it back to my LLC, had to do that. But once I really started using LLCs, is when I started going using commercial lenders.
And last question, when you had your LLCs, did you go through taxes as an S corp, or did you tax them through an LLC? I mean, being able to take losses through an S corp.
Good question. Initially, I did not until I hired a CPA and she advised me to do an S corp. Yeah.
All right, so to wrap up, Commonwealth Affordable Housing Development, we sponsor this event. We do this every month, so we'll hope to see you again. Also wanted to mention that attractive Latino guy over there. Thanks for that. Promoting our fund and our average 14% return on investment. So if you want to be a part of that and schedule some time directly with me, go ahead and hit that QR code. I actually got to run out of here to jump on flights. But I hope to see you on a meeting one-on-one. And yeah, just thanks you, y'all. We appreciate it. Give them a hand, y'all.